Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How are you all? Hope everyone is doing well. So today let us begin with a topic. Before going with that, how many of you are now again going with the masks, covering your face and traveling? It has become must. It has become part of our life. Why is it so? Because of the pandemic, because of the viruses and other harmful microorganisms affecting us and making us weak, even resulting in the death. Why is it so? Why most of we are suffering with that, and most of we are coming with that, and most of we are becoming victim and no more left on the earth. This is all because of the immunity. The immunity you have, you will be healthy. So to overcome that immunity, let us today begin with a chapter, nutrition. We generally talk about nutrition. We generally talk we have to consume good food, healthy diet. But at times, we also do jump on the junk foods as they are attracted, right? Exactly. But nutrition is very important. So during nutrition, what we are doing? We are consuming food. Nutrition is nothing but procurement of all the nutrients in required quantity. Procurement in the sense requirement, need of all the nutrients in required quantity is very important. So when we are consuming this, all the nutrients in required quantity, then it gives you good health. So the food provides you with energy. The food provides you with energy, and this energy is used up for many physical, physiological, and also metabolic activities. It is required for physical, physiological, and also for metabolic activities. When I'm talking about all these things, for this you need life processes. So one such life process today we are going to learn is nutrition. When we are talking about nutrition, food is consumed by various organisms on this earth in a various way. Some of them consume directly, whereas some can prepare their own food, whereas some depends on other organisms for their food. Let us see how it is. So let us see this types of nutrition. Types of nutrition. When I'm talking about types of nutrition, nutrition majorly can be divided into two different types. One is autotrophic nutrition and another is heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Let us learn in detail about this autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition, where all different types of food items in it. Food is consumed by all the living organisms. It is for growth, repair, and also for development. And all the organisms consume the food in a different way. Let us see how it is. Here you can see nutrition can be divided into two types, heterotrophic nutrition and autotrophic nutrition. When we talk about autotrophic nutrition is the nutrition where the green plants are synthesizing the food. The green plants are synthesizing the food material. How? By taking water from the soil and by taking sunlight they are trapping the sunlight. So the sun is providing the radiations, the visible rays, and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And the green color pigment, what do we call it as? Chlorophyll. So this is the way how plants synthesize its own food material. And when I talk, here it is said that carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide combines with 12 molecules of water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So here only just simple inorganic substances. Is there any living organism on this earth which can take simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water? No way. Can we take carbon dioxide, water and sunlight and prepare the food standing in front of the sun? No way. It is only the attribute given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to plants. Plants are taking all these simple inorganic substances and making a complex organic matter called as glucose or the starch. This glucose and starch is used up by we all. So plants provide food not only to humans, they are providing food to all the other organisms, whether it is animals, whether they are humans, flight animals, the animals that live in water, aquatic, desert, any animal we talk. So all the millions and millions and millions of the animals rely on plants for their food. So glucose is synthesized. If I want to balance this equation, I can write 6 molecules of water is released with 6 molecules of oxygen. Exactly. So during the process of photosynthesis, plants are not only providing with food, but also with the oxygen. That oxygen which we are breathing, can we survive without oxygen for a few seconds? No way. Fourthly, if somebody asks you, come on, close your nose and stop breathing. We cannot do it. We may, sorry, I cannot do that. I may die. Exactly. So how important are plants, right? So they are providing us with food and also oxygen so that all the living organisms can survive on the earth. They are taking carbon dioxide, but they are providing us with the oxygen. Now let us move on in detail with this autotrophic nutrition. Here you see a plant observing the solar radiation. Do you know these solar radiations, what plants are doing? They are converting the solar energy into chemical energy. Solar energy is converted into chemical energy. Can any living organism convert this solar energy directly into chemical energy? Machines can do that, but these are plants that are doing that. So it is our duty to protect plants, to make our country green, clean, so that we can survive. Exactly. So you can see here the blue color arrow mark indicates the water is absorbed by the roots. And carbon dioxide, the purple color, absorbed, and they are consuming it to prepare the food material. So this is the attribute given only to plants. And do you know one thing? Plants are only living organism on the earth that gives oxygen, that also gives food. Are they giving only oxygen? Are they giving only food? Are they providing with you many byproducts? When I talk about different types of byproducts, it is said that plants are providing you with the bench you sit, right? Made up of furniture. The sofa you are using, from the plants. The cloths you wear, maybe you are thinking, how come cloths, ma'am? Cotton cloths. And even leather you are wearing, your belt, your shoes, or whatever leather watches you are wearing. How, ma'am? Leather comes from the skin of animals. But to process that leather, the resin is required. And that resin is again obtained from plants. Resin is the byproduct obtained from the plant. So each and everything that you see on the earth, directly or indirectly, comes from the plants. They play a very important role. Let us see now how, here you can see the equation. Just now what I have written, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and all. And it was first reported in the year 1648 by von Helmont. You know who is von Helmont? He is from Belgium. And he found that water plays a very important role. Water plays a very important role in the process of photosynthesis. Before that, no one knows about how it is playing the role. And later on, in 1770, Joseph Priestley, he reported that, plants playing a very important role for the growth of other organisms as they are providing food. And finally, at last, I want to conclude saying, Joseph Priestley discovered oxygen, but the name was given by Lavoisier. Lavoisier, he is the person who has given the name oxygen. That is what we are breathing today. So we were discussing about how these are playing an important role. Coming to the next one is, we will move on how plants, I said that here you can see mole's half-life experiment. I told you that plants play a very important role. And I said that plants consume carbon dioxide. To know that how carbon dioxide playing an important role in the process of photosynthesis, let us see one small, experiment here. For this experiment, the materials required are the materials needed for this, you need a potted plant, this potted plant should have long and narrow leaves. The leaves should be long and it should be narrow. You need a wide-mouthed bottle. You need KOH solution. What is this KOH? KOH stands for potassium hydroxide. You need potassium hydroxide solution, and of course you need iodine solution for testing. Finally, and even you need a petri dish. And let us see what we are doing now. First, you have to select one of the leaf of a plant. Now you have selected that one leaf and you are taking a wide-mouthed bottle. This is the bottle you have taken. In the bottle, first only what you have to do, you have to take the KOH solution. Then this bottle should be kept in such a way that half of the leaf should be inside the bottle and remaining half of the leaf should be outside the bottle. By keeping this way, then what you have to do, apply, the cork and some Vaseline over the rim of the mouth of the bottle. That is nothing but, suppose if this is the bottle, you place the leaf inside it. Now you are, some part will be left out. Possibility is there, carbon dioxide can enter inside. To stop the entry of carbon dioxide, you are applying certain Vaseline or something to it. You can go with grease, Vaseline, anything. Then keep the complete apparatus under the sun. Complete apparatus under the sunlight. Now, the sun's radiations are absorbed, sunlight is absorbed. The part of the leaf that is inside the bottle will absorb the sunlight because bottle is transparent. So sunlight is absorbed here also, sunlight is absorbed on the exposed part also. Whereas water is taken from the leaves, water is taken from the leaf, from the roots, and it goes to the leaf, even to the internal leaf also. So water is received by whole leaf, sunlight is also received by whole leaf, and chlorophyll is already present in the leaf. Now talking about carbon dioxide. When we talk about carbon dioxide is reached only half of the leaf. Maybe the question arises in your mind, ma'am, the half carbon dioxide taken by the leaf can be moved to the other part, right? Generally you may have this question. तो जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जा रहा है मैम वो यहाँ से बॉटल के अंदर भी जाएगा. If at all it is entering, why we have taken potassium hydroxide solution? If at all any carbon dioxide enters, it will absorb that carbon dioxide. So extra carbon dioxide if enters by mistake into the bottle, it will be absorbed by the potassium hydroxide solution. Now no carbon dioxide is given to half of the leaf. Let us see what happens now. After this, it is said that after keeping the complete apparatus for 4 to 5 hours, you can bring the potted plant where you want to conduct the further experiment, remove the leaf from the bottle very carefully so that it should not touch the alkali. The alkali is nothing but the KOH, can also be called as alkali. And then you have to take the leaf slowly, cut it, and take a petri dish with the iodine solution. What will you observe this? Here, you will observe that half of the leaf which is outside will turn to half of the leaf that is outside will turn to bluish black in color. And remaining half that is outside will remain green in color. What does this indicate? This indicates that iodine has turned the starch present there into bluish black color, because we all know that iodine solution turns the starch into blue black color, whereas here no starch is formed. That's the reason it has not converted into bluish black color. See, very good experiment here to prove how carbon dioxide is necessary for the process of photosynthesis. Now, let us move back to the next experiment, that is black paper experiment. This black paper experiment, when we talk, for this also you need a potted plant. The leaves should be broad. The leaves should be broad and white. And you are attaching a black paper to it. You are making some cut design on it. Suppose I have taken the cut design as S. So complete is black paper. I have made a cut design in the center, and this part is also exposed to sunlight or environment, and this part is also exposed as shown in the figure here. After taking this, you are taking a plant. First, you are destarching the whole plant so that no starch should present, or else your whole experiment may go wrong. Now next, you are covering the leaf with the black paper and a cut design in it. Any design you can keep a star design, you can keep a round or your own letter. Then expose this plant to the sunlight. Again, you are taking the sun's radiation, as sun play a very important role. So now what you are doing, you are exposing it, so the radiations of this sun falls on it. Right? Carbon dioxide is anyhow taken by the leaf. Water is taken by the leaf. Chlorophyll is already present. Only we are obstructing part of the leaf so that the sun's radiations should not fall on it. So solar radiations are not reached to some portion of the leaf. Now let us see what happens here. Here you can see that when solar radiations are fall on it, you have kept the plant for a few hours. Let us take 3 to 4 hours. After the time is done, what you have to do? You have to perform again the starch experiment. You have to perform the starch test. What you are doing in the starch test? For this, you are taking again the petri dish. So again, what you are doing, you are taking the petri dish and you are detaching the leaf from the plant, and you are keeping that wide leaf in the petri dish with the iodine. As soon as you put the leaf in the iodine solution, you can see that portion of the leaf, you can see the portion of the leaf that is covered does not turn anything. Only the S-shaped letter turns bluish black in color, and the other portion of the leaf also turns bluish black color. And the middle portion where you have, the screen will remain as it is or green in color. What does this indicate? This indicates that sunlight also plays a very important role. So if sunlight is also not there, photosynthesis cannot take place. If carbon dioxide is not there, photosynthesis cannot take place. So all these things are very much important or required for the process of photosynthesis. So this is some of the experiments that we have seen to carry out the process of photosynthesis. And all these plants are called as autotrophs. And the nutrition is called as autotrophic nutrition, where they are preparing their own food material. Now, next we will move on to the next part of it, that is heterotrophic nutrition. When I talk about this heterotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition can be divided into three types. That is saprophytic, parasitic, and holozoic. Let us see what is this saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition is the nutrition where some of the organisms can break down the food outside their body. Exactly, they are not eating the food. They are breaking the food outside the body. Then only they absorb the nutrients. Do you know which type of organism can do that? Can we do? Without eating food, can we break the nutrients outside? No. Can plants do that? No. It is done by most of the fungi. Like bread molds. Have you ever seen bread? Okay, your father brought bread and you didn't consume it. And the bread was lying like that. And many fungus grow on it. You can see a lot of fungus growing on that bread. White cottony appearance or blackish color, there may be yellowish in color. And when you see it under a microscope, you can see that fungus structure this way. You can see the fungus structure this way. It will have a long filament, then sporangium, and also the hyphae. So, might we have seen the bread beta? The bread, when you talk, you cannot see the bread is completely consumed. Suppose this is the bread, a rat came. A rat came to eat, consume that bread. After some time, you cannot see that bread. If you can see that bread is eaten. That portion will be gone. Only the remaining portion you can see the bread is this much. Ye portion chale gaya wahan se. You cannot see that portion again. But here, when saprophytic nutrition is carried out, the bread will be there only, complete bread. Only the nutrients will be absorbed. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made beta, how different types of organisms. These organisms are not eating the food completely. They are just breaking down the food outside the body and consumes or absorbs only the nutrients. Such type of nutrition is called as saprophytic nutrition. You can see this in mushrooms also. What are mushrooms, ma'am? Mushrooms are nothing but the larger fungi. Actually, fungi are very small, microscopic. If one fungi is there, you cannot see. Pickle bottle, achar ka jo bottle rehta, you may see fungi. Aaj aap dekh liye achar ka bottle. Mama, there is some fungi in the bottle. Your mama says, okay, I will clean it. But after 2 days, when you open, the complete bottle will be white cottony. They grow very rapidly, beta. In 1 hour, they may grow in thousands and millions. Exactly. So one you cannot see, but when they are in large number, you can see it as a cottony appearance. So these are the fungi that undergoing process of saprophytic nutrition. When I'm talking about heterotrophic nutrition, the second type of heterotrophic nutrition is parasitic nutrition. Parasites. Nowadays, maybe you're hearing this word a lot and a lot. Parasites, pandemic. What are these parasites? Are harmful organisms. These are the harmful microorganisms. harmful microorganisms that consumes, that, lives inside the body of other organisms, or we can call it as host organism, in the body of host organism. So parasites are nothing but the harmful microorganisms that lives inside the body of host organism. Host organism can be we humans, can be any other plants, can be any other animals. Exactly. So here for you, Cuscata example is given. Let us see what is this Cuscata. Cuscata is nothing but a parasitic plant. It does not have its own leaves. उसको अपना own leaves नहीं रहेगा. It is only just leafless twine. Only the twining, leafless twining. It does not have leaves. Leafless twine. And these twine, enters inside the body of another plant. That another plant can be a host plant. That another plant can be a host plant. Suppose if this is the plant, and I am drawing the parasitic plant with red colors. Suppose this is the twine, they are twining around and they enter inside the stem also. If you can see here, how they are entering inside the stem, how they are consuming the nutrients. So this parasitic plant, it enters and it forms Haustoria. It forms Haustoria. So ये जो leaf-like twining है, leafless twining, it develops small projections this way. Small projections. These projections will enter inside the stem of another plant. You can see here how it is. These are the Haustoria. So वो क्या करते? They pierce inside the stem and they take all the nutrients. Sometimes they can kill the host plant and take up all the nutrients. Once the plant is killed, again they search the other plant. Like that, all the parasitic organisms live inside the body of other organism. Either they make them sick and cause disease, or sometimes even they can kill that host organism. So that's the reason parasitic type of nutrition is very dangerous, as they are completely eating. They need food, they are eating, but they are eating our cells. Some of the parasites even enter in our body. What is this pandemic, that coronavirus is also such type? For its survival, it is entering in our body and damaging all our parts. Exactly. So the parasitic plant pierces the stem, sucks all the nutrients and results in the death of the host plant. And that is Cuscata. It belongs to dodder plant. It belongs to dodder plant. And the Cuscata is developing these projections, to pierce. These are called as Haustoria. So Cuscata plant develops Haustoria. That Haustoria enters inside the stem, take away all the nutrients. So this is about parasitic mode of nutrition. Now next we will move on to what is Holozoic nutrition. Let us move on to now Holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is the nutrition where we all undergo this type of nutrition, where we consume the food enters our body and provide us with energy. Holozoic nutrition can also be seen in some of the unicellular organisms. Some of the unicellular organisms like amoeba. We will take the example of amoeba. We all know that amoeba is a unicellular organism. And if I draw this amoeba, I can draw the pseudopodia. These are the pseudopodia. And I can draw the nucleus in the center, right? And it has the cytoplasm and all. But I'm very much concerned how amoeba undergo the Holozoic nutrition. Here amoeba, whenever the food is available, suppose this is the food. The food is available here. Suppose if this is the food, The two pseudopodia come together and they make the roundup. Then this pseudopodia will not remain that way. The pseudopodia will completely change. Okay. It completely change its shape, and the shape of that amoeba now you can see will become this way. Okay, ma'am, here two pseudopodia were there, but as amoeba has consumed it, this is the food vacuole. Now this will become the food vacuole. The food vacuole will travel all over the body and the nutrients is obtained by the organism. See how simple. The pseudopodia, two pseudopodia come together, the food is consumed and the organism take away the food. This is the way how unicellular organisms are eating, as it is only single cell. As it is only made up of single cell. But our body, millions and millions and millions of cells. So can our cells also follow this amoeboid movement? No way. Each cell have to take the food. But here we are undergoing different mode of nutrition, where we have mouth, we have esophagus, we have other parts also. Let us see how digestive system includes alimentary canal and many other associated organs. If I draw here, suppose if this is the buccal cavity, the mouth se buccal cavity extends into the esophagus. From the esophagus you have the stomach. From the stomach, U-shaped tube called as duodenum, and this duodenum again consists of large intestine. Then comes your small intestine. This further protrudes and forms your small intestine. And then below you have the anus. And yeah, this is the anus and this is the rectum. I will show you the diagram. Okay, now yeah, I can draw here now the appendix. This is the small intestine, and then further it continues as anus. Now the food is taken from here. Suppose this is the food we have consumed from the mouth. So mouth, then this cavity inside our mouth, the cavity is called as buccal cavity or the oral cavity. Buccal cavity or oral cavity. This is your mouth cavity. But scientific terminology you have to use always, beta. It is buccal cavity. Now, the buccal cavity carries the food, but here in the mouth, what happens? The food gets mixed with many enzymes, and the most important enzyme is amylase. Amylase is the enzyme that is mixed up. How? Here we have certain structure. You know, I'm drawing with another color here. These are the salivary glands. You have the salivary glands. The salivary glands releases the secretion. This secretion is nothing but we call it as amylase. The food is mixed with the amylase, and then the food is carried from here to an opening called as pharynx. Pharynx is the common passage for both food and also air. The air you breathe, the food you take, both will be reached here in the pharynx. So, ma'am, can food enters into the windpipe where we have lungs? No way, beta. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, because when we are consuming food, when you are swallowing food, the flap-like structure present here, this flap-like structure get closed, and you will not, have the opening towards your windpipe. Now you all can do this activity. Everyone, the one who are watching me and all can do this activity. Think that suppose there is something in your mouth, you are chewing, swallow it. When you are swallowing, can you see in your upper area, upper floor of your buccal cavity, something is closed, and generally we talk that choti zaban. Generally, we look into the mirror, we open our mouth wide, and you see a small, and you see a choti zaban. It is not choti zaban, but it is actually epiglottis. What it is? The flap-like structure called epiglottis. Epiglottis closes, so food will not enter into the windpipe. It enters into the another pipe here called as esophagus. Yeah, this is the esophagus. Then the food is entering into the esophagus. Now the food is traveled, the food came, and in the esophagus you can see peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement is nothing but contraction and relaxation of the esophagus. It is very thin tube, beta. The complete alimentary canal is from your mouth till your anus. From mouth till anus is your alimentary canal. So esophagus is also part of alimentary canal. What happens here? Peristaltic movement is taking place that keeps the food from one position to the other. Then the food reaches into the stomach. Even in the stomach also, many juices are released, enzymes are released, but these enzymes only act on proteins, not on carbohydrates, only they act on proteins. And they also releases hydrochloric acid, right? Very strong acid. It is a very strong acid. Suppose a drop of hydrochloric acid falls on your hand, what happens? It can burn your hand, or on this cloth, it can make the hole. Even it can make hole in your, if you are taking very thin portion of your flesh, even it can make hole on it. Very strong acid. But see, that strong acid is released in our stomach. In spite of that, it is not damaging our stomach. It is because of mucus lining. It is because of the mucus lining. I am showing the mucus lining with the pink color, beta. I am showing the mucus lining with the pink color. The pink color indicates the mucus lining. So when hydrochloric acid is released, so the mucus will protect it. How? Take one leaf. Take one more leaf. Here you apply Vaseline. Here, don't apply anything. Here you have applied Vaseline. Now take dilute hydrochloric acid. Drop on this. A small pinch of hydrochloric acid you have dropped here. You are dropping here also. On both the leaves, you drop hydrochloric acid. What happens? You can see that it turns to black color. The leaf will burn. But here, the leaf will remain the same. As Vaseline is protecting the leaf, even the mucus is also protecting our stomach. From there, the food enters into the duodenum. The pancreas also release many, enzymes. Even the liver here, the liver also releases many enzymes, and the food enters into the small intestine. Now the food entered into the small intestine. From the small intestine, it goes into the large intestine, but whatever the food going into the large intestine is the waste and undigested food. So ma'am, what happens to the digested food? The small intestine contains, suppose if I enlarge this, small intestine contains many smaller finger-like projections. These small finger-like projections are called as villi. Villi or microvilli. They are absorbing the nutrients and supplying it to the blood vessels, to our circulatory system. That nutrients we are getting, and we are becoming energetic with a lot of immunity. As I said, your food is important. It plays a very important role. Without food, as 20% of your calories or glucose taken by your brain, no breakfast in the morning, no proper information or data can be stored. While teacher explains, it looks very simple to you. Hey, it's very simple. I have learned. But after a day or two, you will be like, ma'am explained on that day. Today I'm not getting that. It is because no breakfast. Without breakfast, you are into the classroom. You cannot grab it or grasp it. As early in the morning, your brain requires whatever food you are consuming, 20% of your glucose is taken by 20% of your glucose is taken by the brain. So as you have not consumed your breakfast, you skipped it, brain don't have this 20% of glucose, no energy, nothing goes. It looks very easy, but after a day or two, the data is not stored in your cerebrum. Exactly. That's the reason. Have food on time and eat healthy diet. That plays a very important role. And then undigested food is taken into the large intestine. It travels the complete large intestine. Here also some amount of water is reabsorbed. Only hard stools comes out. Near the rectum, from rectum, it is ejected out through anus. It is ejected out through anus. Now coming to the next portion of it. Yes, here we go with this. You can see here the functions of the system. You came to know how the digestive system is playing the role. Let us see what is ingestion, what is digestion, what is absorption, and what is defecation. So, ingestion is nothing but in simple intake of the food. Intake of the food inside our body is called as ingestion. Entry of the food into the mouth is called as ingestion. Digestion is nothing but breaking up of complex food material, because the glucose formed by the plant is very complex. So complex food materials are broken down into simple particles with the help of your teeth. You are chewing. With the help of enzyme amylase, it gets into very simple substances so that they can be used up by the body, absorbed by the body. If it is in complex form, the body cannot absorb, the cells cannot absorb it. Then after that you have absorption. As I said you, in the small intestine, you have many small finger-like projections. These small finger-like projections are absorbing the nutrients. So absorption of the nutrients by the microvilli is called as absorption. Then comes your defecation. Defecation is nothing but the passage of undigested food material from the body. Just now what we have seen, the food is defecated out, expelled out of the body. This is called as defecation. Now let us move on to the next slide here. You can see here the digestive system. So this digestive system, just now what I have drawn, you can see, I am enlarging this. You can see here, you have the salivary glands. They are of three types: parotid gland, maxillary gland, and submaxillary and sublingual gland. Then you have the esophagus. Then you have liver. All these are the esophagus, stomach, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine. Appendix is here, rectum and anus. Ma'am, why appendix is here? As it is a vestigial organ, it does not have any role. Yes, beta. When we were, early man and all, at that time we used to consume raw food. At that time, appendix was, functional organ. But now it has remained unfunctional. As we are not consuming raw flesh, are we killing the animals eating the raw flesh? No, we are cooking. We are making it very yum, right? Exactly. That's the reason appendix has become vestigial. But sometimes consuming different types of diet can, Yeah, consuming different types of diet can enlarge this appendix and you will suffer from appendicitis. Later on, doctor will remove it and no problem. It is a vestigial organ. If it is removed also, your body does not have any complications. So till here I'm stopping today. Inshallah, we will continue in our next class.